It's the HoopWise Podcast from New England Basketball Journal, a comprehensive look at the basketball landscape in New England, tracking prospects, recruiting, college, and more, with your hosts, Steve Hewitt and Ethan Fuller.
Yeah, welcome back to another episode of the HoopWise Podcast. My name is Steve Hewitt. As always, I'm joined by Ethan Fuller. We are the New England Basketball Journal. Ethan, we had another D3 national champion in the building today.
Let's go.
Some of our viewers and listeners will remember we had Michael Karate on the podcast last month. He was a D3 national champion from 2003. Today we have Joey Flannery, Babson basketball legend, 2017 national champion.
Yes.
Welcome to the studio. Welcome to our home.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a great studio.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah.
I know I got big shoes to fill following Mike. This is this type of stuff. So
yeah. Well, welcome. How have you been? How's your summer? I know it's been a busy summer for you.
Yeah, very busy time. Back at Babson as associate head coach. So extremely grateful to be back and really enjoying it. And our season's getting rolling. We start up officially tomorrow. So we have some prep to do the rest of the day with Coach Brennan and getting our guys ready for November 9th and 10th at NYU. So
love it. So a little background on Joey. We go back a little ways from when I was at the Herald covering college basketball. Covered his Babson teams when they won the national championship in 2017. Legendary career Babson, all-time leading scorer. I think ninth in D3 history. I think that's what I saw.
Ooh, someone might pass me then. So yeah,
someone might. Sense. Okay, I think that was in the press release.
Yeah, I'm falling out.
We're gonna stay on to the top 10 as long as possible, right? D3 National Player of the Year, as you guys won the national championship that year. Then you tested the professional waters a little bit, right? I think you went to
played 1 year in Spain. Yep.
1 year in Spain, and then joined Villanova's staff for the last 6 seasons. You were the latest. You were the director of basketball operations there, and then, as you said, you're back home now. You took over Matt Droney's old gig. Matt Droney is now the Dexter Southfield boys head coach. You were teammates, best friends with Droney, right?
Yes, sir.
And you just kind of took over his job as the associate head coach. So I guess how has that been being back? I think you started, September 1, you said?
Yep. So started end of August there
at
Babson officially. And, so it's been a quick turn in terms of, getting comfortable back with Coach Brennan and getting on the same page as to what we want to do this season, as well as getting to know all of the players, off the court, before we could even start. So very different, but, feel like I've, got my feet under me a little bit. Certainly relied on Matt Droney throughout the transition thus far, just to kind of get comfortable and bounce thoughts off him and see where he thought the season was headed, knowing that, he didn't know he would get that Dexter job, but it's been great so far.
Yeah. What is there anything different? I mean, it's been like 7 years, right, since you graduated. Mm-hmm. What's changed at all inside the program? Is Brennan kind of just the same? You kind of picked up where you left off? Yeah,
it's funny. It's kind of a full circle moment in the sense of, Coach Brennan and I going way back to, I guess, about 2012 when he started recruiting me and, became obviously my coach and a mentor to me, a dear friend, and now, of course, my boss and someone that I'm really excited to be teaming up with again and working for. So we've clicked like I think we expected. But, certainly, the Division III landscape has changed. The transfer portal has trickled down a little bit. Some of the rules have changed. They now allow some extra practices in the fall and the spring. It didn't exist when I played. So, some minor tweaks and changes. But for the most part, it's been amazing to see kind of the brotherhood and commitment that all of the alums and supporters have had over the years and kind of maintained the past 7 years. And I actually haven't been back for a game. I was able to see one practice in the past 7 years. So really excited, and it's just been amazing to see kind of the strength of the Babson Brotherhood remain and continue to grow.
Are there any drills or exercises that you remember from practice that now that you're on the other side, you either miss or like, wow, I'm so glad I never have to do that again?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you think back on everything really, from the layup lines to the stretches, just reminiscing with old teammates on drills. So, Coach Brennan and I have talked about implementing some drills that they've gotten away from that we actually used back in even my freshman and sophomore year, and it's always changing. So it's been amazing just, as a player, how many years Coach B had coached, and now coaching with him, 30 years of head coaching experience and 36 total years at Babson. So his network is vast, and it's amazing. He'll remember plays and shots from, the 90s, the 2000s, plays that I forget I made in my senior year. Same thing with our teammates. So it's been a joy to be around, and we're both focused on our goals here.
Yeah. I guess I'm curious what your kind of day-to-day responsibilities look like. Are you just basically Brennan's right-hand man? Are you focusing on recruiting and just kind of everything's tying together?
It's been a little all over the place. Just starting in August, having missed the live periods for the 2025 recruiting, so kind of speeding up a little bit of that recruiting process here this fall, and then of course planning for the season. And we returned some great players, but brought in 8 new guys. So it's been a lot of meetings with Coach Brennan.
Yeah.
We've been sitting down, just chopping it up, days, hours, phone calls after we leave the office, as well as just kind of getting to know the guys and getting a feel with how the athletics department is now operating. And it's been great. There's a lot of familiar faces. Obviously, the Michael Lynch, the athletic director, is still there. So, just kind of getting adjusted and making sure that we're ready to go.
Yeah. How do those meetings with Brennan differ at all from when you're playing? Is it
very different. Very different.
Yeah.
The topics are certainly different, but I would say it's a professional relationship now, but at the same time we're extremely close, and we're both motivated for this season and moving forward.
Yeah. Was coming back to Babson ever on your radar? Is that ever something that you thought about?
Yeah, I think I had always thought about it. When I was playing and kind of started to gear my focuses towards playing overseas, probably my sophomore year was when someone put that idea in my head. So, after that, I thought about what I would want to do after, and obviously being at a very motivated business school in Babson, coaching isn't what people think about, but I knew it was probably going to be hard for me to leave the game of basketball just with my passion and love and what it's done for me. So I thought that I wanted to try, the highest levels, which I was fortunate enough to do at Villanova, and then did always have in the back of my mind that coming back to Babson was something that kept popping up. So extremely fortunate the opportunity came up, and just going to go from here.
This reminds me of this story that Brennan told me maybe 7-8 years ago about you. I can't remember all the details, but I just remember he said something about I think we were talking about your leadership back then, and how you would text your teammates at 3-4 in the morning that you were watching film and things like that, just always just focus on what's on the film. And
maybe see, I don't remember that much, but
no,
I did watch a lot of film, which I obviously still love to do as a coach, but I think but that's what all of the guys we had kind of did, and our commitment level was we're always looking for a way up, and that was our primary focus was to win. So whether that was a late night, hey, we got to look for this, or wow, I apologize to my teammates for that. But.
Well, what I was getting at was that you always kind of had maybe a coach's mindset. When you said you had a conversation with somebody at some point, when did that really like start to become
Yeah,
something that you thought about in the future?
I wasn't always like the vocal leader, really.
Yeah.
Like for us at Babson, like Matt Droney was just naturally a vocal leader for us. Even when he came off the bench our senior year, when he made that sacrifice to do it for the team, and that was his choice. So he was always kind of that vocal leader, and I think both of us knew that we would coach and whatnot. And but I don't think you really understand what coaching is until you're in it. And you learn a lot about it and what it is. Like there's we get, call it, 2 hours of practice or whatever it is, a workout here and there. But a lot of the hours are not the X's and O's on the court. That's a very small fraction of it. So, it opens people's eyes when they get in the coaching business, but you also realize what you're in it for, which is something that I've found serves a great purpose to me in my life, being able to give back and help young student athletes grow and mature as men, as people, as players, as students. So, that's why I'm in it, and I think that's why a lot of coaches are in it.
Yeah. You mentioned Droney. Obviously, he's the head coach at Dexter now. Bradley Jacks, also from that Babson team, is an assistant at Quinnipiac. Did I say that right? Quinnipiac?
Yep.
Quinnipiac,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I always have trouble with that school for some reason. So, and then obviously you at Babson as the associate head coach. Do you guys, I'm sure there's like group chats and things of that nature. Do you guys kind of bounce stuff off each other all the time about coaching, and maybe this is something that I'm dealing with at Dexter or Quinnipiac? And,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
No, I've stayed in touch with both of those guys throughout. Brad, of course, we haven't mentioned him yet today, but Brad came by Babson a couple weeks ago, sat down with Coach Brennan and I. But we've talked throughout the years. The basketball world and the coaching world is small and interconnected in every way, as you guys know. So, cross paths with Brad at tournaments years ago when he was just started at Quinnipiac. We were talking the other day about some of the stuff they did when he was coaching Division III at Randolph, obviously reminiscent back to our days as well. So Brad, Matt, and I always have stayed connected, as well as, all the other New England coaches who we've, developed relationships with.
Yeah. So season starts November 9th for Babson. You mentioned eight new guys. You had some returners. I think last year you guys won the new MAC tournament, right?
Yes, they did. 2 years in a row they did.
Yeah. Made the NCAA tournament. I guess, how does the squad look? What are expectations this year? How are you feeling about everything going into the year?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's a lot of figuring out to do still on Coach Brennan and my part, but also our players in terms of getting a feel for each other and getting comfortable figuring it out on the court. So we bring back some great returners and guys who got a lot of minutes. Their season last year was a little funky. They got hit with the injury bug and basically had 3 different teams at parts of the year just because of what they had available. But, a guy like Nate Amato, who most people know, will be one of the best players, in the region. And I expect the country this year. So just a senior who gets it, who's been through it, and is now hungry to win. Already scored 1,000 points, not worried about that. So, we bring back some great returners who have, their head on their shoulders and are really committed to the right things. And then we bring in 2 grad transfers, Alex Stoddard from Williams and Felix Coleman from Brown, who we're hoping can provide some, maturity, leadership, and immediate impact on both ends. And then we got 6 freshmen who are, going to have some figuring out to do, but certainly some guys who can compete for minutes. So we're excited, but a lot to be determined in this next month here to prepare for NYU, who's got, I believe, 6 grad transfers. So they're loaded. Okay. They're loaded up. I think there will be the scouts will be a little generic for this one, knowing that both teams are going to come in with different personnel. So
yeah,
you mentioned earlier that the transfer portal and all the changes that have happened at the D1 level have trickled down to D3, and you just mentioned the amount of grad transfers that both of the teams you talked about have. Can you describe what has most significantly changed about the transfer portal at the D3 level, or is it still?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
For sure. And I don't think anyone knows really where it's going to head. And it's just been unpredictable across all levels thus far. And, I think it's a little bit more stability, and obviously the COVID years, now in the last year of it. So hopefully, that will calm things down a little bit. But there's always going to be transferred. There always has been. Some of our greatest assets in my time at Babson were our transfers that we pulled in, and Matt Droney was a transfer. Isaiah Nelson, another Massachusetts kid who was at St. A's. Probably blanking on a few as well. Eric Dean, of course, my sophomore year. So that's always going to play a part. Now, the grad years and the 6-year guys and, the 25-year-old seniors, that might go away.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah, we wanted to get a little bit into your time at Villanova, and one of the things I was really interested in is I know you started as an assistant director of basketball operations and then moved up to just full-on director of basketball operations. I know that job in particular changes a lot from school to school. You're asked to sometimes do a lot of things that aren't directly coaching. Can you first describe, when you started at Villanova, what were you asked to do in your role?
Right. Yeah, so I actually got there as a grad assistant.
Yes.
In 2018, right after they had won the national championship. So George Halkovich, who at the time was an assistant for Coach Wright, played for Coach Brennan way back at Babson, and got into coaching and had been at Villanova for, I believe 10 years at the time. So when I was actually in Spain, I knew that I wanted to get into coaching. I talked to Coach Brennan and asked him if he could reach out to George at Villanova just to see if they had anything opening, or to at least have an opening discussion with them. And a lot of times the GA route is how people get in this industry. So once I had that opportunity, I got back from Spain, went on the interviews and whatnot. So was able to go there as a grad assistant, which is a dirty role where you're doing it all. You're in grad school, plus you're rebounding, checking classes, worried about the food, worried about, any logistical thing on top of helping with scouting, recruiting, kind of wherever is needed. So a frantic lifestyle, but an amazing experience. And actually it was my second year there that we got shut down, the Big East tournament.
Oh my God, yeah.
So that was, we all went home, I believe, the next day, everyone, hoping, that we would come back somewhat soon.
Yeah.
Remember when I was actually in MSG, is actually, Yaz told me to tell some stories too if they came up. So here's my first one.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So now I was actually in MSG, and I'm sitting there, on your guys' laptops like you are, coding up the game, the scouting game. So we had played, I think, at 7 that night. And I was in there watching the games that we could potentially play the next game and clipping up the stuff. And I was, on my phone, Big Ten shuts down their conference tournament, ACC, and Big East had not shut it down. So I was sitting there, got to about halftime, looking around. I was the only person in MSG watching this game, and finally they stopped the second half. I raced back to the hotel, got on the bus. We got back to Nova, went home, drove home back to Boston the next day. Was here for was it 5 months? So then fortunately I was able to get hired after that as assistant ops. So that was again a mixed role, and it was a really funky year in COVID.
Yeah.
So some of the rules had changed in terms of who could be on the court. We were doing small group workouts with gloves on, all quarantined. So kind of really mixed roles, but kind of learned to do a little bit of everything in those first couple of years, and really understand what Villanova was about, which is a amazing place and program, but it's hard to really get a feel for initially. Like it's hard to go in there in your second year and understand things. And that's a testament to how they've built it and how amazing of a culture and just competitive environment that it is. So it's something I was able to learn a lot from those 3 years in kind of everything, and then of course got the ops stuff, which was the operation stuff. And Coach Wright was always adamant about, having to know and master that stuff to be a head coach. Although no one signs up for coaching, to do, to book the planes and call the hotels and, make sure all the meals are set up and make sure the players, have X, Y, Z. But that's, extremely important stuff. And I learned a lot from it. So did that fully for, we went to the Final Four that year. And then Coach Wright retired. So was able to, again, be ops with Coach Neptune and learn a ton that year as well. Had some more basketball specific responsibilities, was more on the court. My last year had Rob DePersia, who took over the ops job at Villanova right now. So he was kind of learning and taking that on. And I was able to spend a lot of time on the court, working out and just helping out the guys, which is stuff that I love to do, as well as helping with scouting and recruiting and all that stuff. So, kind of just grew into more responsibility throughout the years, but learned so much. I'm very fortunate for my time there.
Yeah. I remember watching that Big East tournament game, the last one before COVID. I think it was Creighton St. John's.
Yeah,
maybe?
Creighton St. John's, yeah.
Yeah. And I was just at home watching, and I was like, every sport is shut down at that point. And I'm like, I'm literally watching maybe the last sporting event for like a long time, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was a student at BU. I was on student radio, and BU beating Colgate was the last March Madness berth punched before everything got shut down. So I was watching that game, and I was like, is this going to matter? It was like a huge deal for the BU to win it and upset Colgate, who like Colgate's an awesome program. And so it was just bizarre after. And so, it was so weird to think about.
Poor BU.
I know. We actually, we got on the bus from, New York to Philly was about 2 hours. So when we got back, we were all thinking that we were going to be playing an NCAA tournament. Mm-hmm. We had a really good team.
Yeah, you would have been in a large team.
Yeah,
we
were. Yeah, I think we would have been probably a 2-3 seed. Mm-hmm. So we started planning on the bus ride back about who we could potentially match up with an NCAA tournament. And then, right as we got back to campus, we got off the bus and, the news stations were out there and they were like, the NCAA tournament's canceled. So that was definitely a wild moment in time.
Yeah. And then you said you came back home for 5 months?
Yep. So I was here and, doing stuff remote.
Yeah.
Recruiting, scouting, kind of getting organized for the season and we didn't know if there was going to be one. So there was definitely, a little bit of downtime and just kind of waiting and, trying to stay healthy, as well. And a lot going on. So kind of basketball took a backseat, I think, in everyone's lives who's in the industry.
Yeah. I want to ask about Jay Wright. Obviously, one of the best coaches of all time. You got to work under for a few years, 4 years? 4 years, yeah. 4 years you were under him. I guess what were your kind of maybe first impressions of him? What were those first kind of moments like meeting him? I think you said you had an interview for the job.
Yeah, that's funny.
I'm sure you had some maybe expectations of what he'd be like.
Mm-hmm.
Just
I'm trying to think. Definitely excited. I think definitely some nerves going there the first time, not knowing what to expect. A higher level of basketball than I was used to being around. So knew I was going to be, kind of lowest man on the totem pole if I was able to get there, and just was going to be willing to do whatever it took, and felt like I had a good understanding of what graduate assistant's responsibilities were. Yeah. But really meeting him, I think I want to say I went to maybe a summer workout in 2018. Briefly talked with him, but he's busy. He's busy. So went in there, interviewed. You got to, there's everyone you got to meet with and get a feel, because at Villanova we make sure that we're bringing in the right people, and that's something that they've always done. So it was a longer process, and then I believe I had to come back and have a sit down with him. I don't know I can't remember if that was my second or not, but luckily, I left that. I want to say another one for you, Yaz. I left that interview not knowing if I had the GA job or not. Mm-hmm. I wasn't really sure. I think he said welcome, but it was my head was all over the place. So then I drove back and talked to George again, and I was like, okay, yeah, I did get it. So
okay. Awesome.
It was fun. And I couldn't tell if Coach Wright like kind of, was all like all right, let's get to work type situation. But just I learned so much from him, and immediately what stuck out was the attention to detail, and just the high character that he had and how he treated everyone in the program, from manager to best player to grad assistant to assistant coach. So that was incredible and just amazing to work for and learn from, and made it really not a job to wake up and give all you had in the late nights. Like it was really enjoyable, and just something that was so special to be around, and be a part of, and be able to contribute in any way too. But I think the attention to detail really speaks to me, and what I've tried to believe I took from him in the program the most. But at the end of the day, like, he's a great person. There are great people there, and I think that's what they did. They brought in other great people. So it was amazing to be around that for 6 years and 4 with Coach Wright.
You coached around a lot of really great players too, like future NBA players, college stars, obviously. Were there any players who, whether it was through your interactions or just watching how they were coachable, that kind of helped you change the way you coached? They were like, oh, I want to coach these type of players, or I want to have this type of effect on players based on who you saw?
Yeah, I mean, I think, all of those guys that were at Villanova, which is testament to the coaches doing their due diligence in the recruiting process and bringing in the right people, like, they were all super motivated individuals who, were just great people who were willing to listen and learn. So, but at the same time, they're all different. Division III kids are all different on every roster across the board, just as a Division I roster. So certain players respond different to certain ways, and I think that's different when it's an individual workout or a small group workout versus a full team practice versus a game. So you have to kind of figure that out and have those relationships with the players, and the players back and forth with the coaches, and develop that trust to be able to figure it out, which is something that takes time.
Yeah,
That's fair.
You got to coach Jermaine Samuels, obviously, while you were there. Obviously, a local kid from Franklin, went to Rivers. Did you have a prior relationship with him at all? Did you know him?
I believe we knew of each other.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was
a little bit older.
So I was spent. Let's see. So that was
it 2019?
18, 19, 19, 20. So yeah, 3 years with Jermaine. And then, actually, no, 4 years with Jermaine. 4 years with Jermaine.
Was he a 4-year guy?
Yep.
Okay.
So, and he was there the year before me, but he was an incredible kid, a good friend of mine, someone who was just like the ultimate competitor, do it all, anything it takes to win, and it was an unbelievable talent coming out of Rivers. Someone that was younger than me, who I watched, and then was fortunate to be able to help out and go back and forth with him. We spent a lot of time in the gym, and he's really dedicated. He's had a great pro career thus far. Had a 2-way with the Rockets, and is working hard for them right now. So it's great to see him doing that. He taught me a lot as well. But an incredible kid, had an incredible career at Villanova. That he goes a little. People don't think as much about that Final Four run in 2022 when he was the region most outstanding player to get to the Final Four against Houston, which was probably one of the other, a Final Four team.
Right.
He was incredible doing everything in that game. So I know New England and Massachusetts are proud of him.
For sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Any other kind of, what was it maybe your favorite memory of Villanova, your 6 seasons? So you talk about the Final Four, Big East championships.
Yeah,
any players that you particularly
I don't
enjoy?
know. I don't know that there's one.
Yeah.
I'm getting a hammy cramp right here. I gotta straighten that.
No, you're good.
Oh man.
If you need to stop,
No, we're good. That's actually this one comes back from the Keene State game. My Elite 8 year had a little hammy tweak, and it came back as I started playing this summer.
Oh.
But let's see, memories. I mean, there's so many good ones. Like, even the tough moments, looking back are great memories. We lost in the Sweet 16 at Butler against Baylor. and that was in so that would have been 2021, I believe. So that was still limited fans at Hinkle Fieldhouse, and that was really tough. We had a great team that year, and obviously not a favorite moment, but certainly a moment that stands out, and just what you learn from that types of stuff. Mm-hmm. And the same thing goes for the last 2 years. When Coach Wright retired, and we had a staff who was very close, so we all worked together under Coach Wright. Coach Neptune was a previous assistant for him, so we went through that together, and we learned a lot. And those guys are they're gonna have a great year this year. But just figuring it out. You lose a Hall of Fame coach, you have the transfer portal, you have injuries, a lot goes on. There's so many good memories in the struggles and the ones where we won, getting to the Final Four, of course. The Big East Championship, Coach Wright's last season was special. And then, hey, my first year when I really didn't understand what it was like, and still figuring it out, we were able to win the Big East tournament and win a game in the NCAA tournament, and then lost big in the second round to Carson Edwards at Purdue. So, all those moments are, some are more favorable than others, but they're all stuff that I look back on and learned a ton from.
Yeah. Let's shift back even more to your playing days, unless you have any more questions.
No,
about
go ahead.
Yeah.
I was excited for this.
Obviously the national championship in 2017, but kind of like you were just talking about, just the moments that kind of led to that point. What kind of sticks out in your mind about your playing career, and just how those 4 years unfolded? I'm sure it happened kind of in a blink of an eye. Mm-hmm. But you kind of made an impact right away as a freshman. I think you were Rookie of the Year in the new MAC, right?
Yep.
What kind of, obviously the national championship is something that you'll cherish the rest of your life, but what do you take from those years that maybe it helps you apply to now?
It was just a different, for every team we had at Babson was different. I think I came in as a freshman. I was not going to start the first scrimmage, ended up starting, and then never got out of the starting lineup. But, I didn't walk into Babson, having it all easy either. So that year was, made pretty simple for me. We had a transfer point guard who was at West Virginia, Kenny Ross, who incredible passer, playmaker, who really told me all I needed to do was sprint the wing hard to get layups and shoot the ball if I was wide open from three.
Yeah.
If he passed to him.
Yeah.
So it was simple that year. Sophomore year, we were really defensive minded and loved to play in the 50s. Had 3 senior leaders who were incredible, went to the Final Four. And then junior and senior year, we added one of our good friends, Isaiah Nelson, as a transfer our junior year from North Andover. And then a shooter from New York as well. And then the mix with the guys that we already had playing kind of changed, and we like to play in the 80s, but we could still get stops and play in the 60s. So learned a lot just from all that and the different styles. But I think the biggest thing was the close-knit groups we had. Matt Droney, I had known Matt Droney before. He had known several of the other guys on our team before he transferred in. I had played with Isaiah AAU back in my junior year in high school, so we were able to get a lot of local guys together and then mix in guys like Bradley Jacks from D.C. area, a guy from shooter from New York, and mix in some others and still kept a really close-knit group, and that was what I think and we all believe enabled us to win. We were down 25 in the Final Four game my senior year. I think, most teams would have got inward, and we kind of just looked at each other and we're like, all right, whatever, like down 25, like let's just go figure it out, and we, went on like a 30-5 run to tie the game, something like that.
Like one of those UConn runs from this year.
Right. Oh, torture.
Oh my God.
And then, so that was really what it was. So you just learn the importance of being connected, defensively for us, which is something that, when I went to Villanova, they always pride themselves on defense. So, a lot of stuff that was relatable. But those are the big things. But, we could talk for hours about Babson.
Yeah.
When you are putting together those kind of sustained runs of such success, what is it like to see the community support change? And when you join the staff now, like outside of the program, obviously, did you feel that kind of support come back because people recognized you?
Right. No, it was amazing. We had, we were able to host up until the Final Four our sophomore year and senior year. So the support from, the local Babson community, but also, random New England basketball fans that were always, just trying to watch good hoops.
Yeah.
We had some media coverage. Of course, Steve helped with that.
Nice.
And no, it was amazing. And all of our alums and supporters were in it along the way, and they still are. So, I think you got to win to put, the fans in the seats. But, we've been fortunate to have a good alumni network who's remained close and committed to our program.
Yeah. You mentioned the 25-point comeback, obviously, which is amazing. I want to go into the championship game. I don't think enough people appreciate the way that game ended, and you can. I'm sure you know where I'm going, and you can find the clip on YouTube. Joey, what were you guys up 1 or 2? And you pinned the block on the glass basically to seal the win. I think they maybe had one more chance after that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they had a full court heave.
But they had like an open layup opportunity. And,
I mean, I think
came out of nowhere.
I think with that, like I was 9 for 9 from the free throw line in the game, and missed the front end of the 1-and-1 with 10 seconds left when we were up 1 to to seal a national championship.
Yeah.
What you practice for in the gym every summer, what you think about all the time. So, of course, missed the front end, which I still think about way too much and lose sleep over. Woken up in night sweats that we didn't win the game. So, and just ended up being able to go make a play at the other end.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, that really, to me, wasn't that play. It more was kind of a symbol of like, picking up for each other. We had 3 seniors, Matt Droney and Charlie Rice, another Massachusetts kid. We all missed the front end of the 1-and-1 in the last 90 seconds, all 3 of us.
Oh, my God.
And we just kept picking up for each other and making the play after that we needed to. So that was what it came down to. But
is that
I don't love thinking about it, honestly.
Is that something I guess if you don't love thinking about it, maybe not, but do you use that as a teaching moment for players ever, or not really?
No, I have not. I have not.
No.
I have not.
Yeah. No, that's fine. What do you remember about just, I'm sure there was relief when it was over and you guys spilled onto the floor, won the national championship. What do you kind of remember about that particular moment of when it was all said and done and you guys had done it?
I think relief, certainly.
Yeah.
Just a ton of emotion. It was draining. It was a draining process physically. I think we were all banged up, of course, as any team is. But mentally, I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, which is actually something that I do use when I'm talking to student athletes, because it's tough, and you already have a lot of pressures from the outside coming in that are hard enough to block out, and to have more pressures put on you from yourself can be draining and really taxing. But we did put a lot of pressure on ourselves as a group because we were so committed to winning that national championship, and luckily we did. But if we didn't, we would have been able to live with the result, knowing we gave it all. But it would have been something tough to go to bed with.
Yeah. And then so after you left Babson, after you graduated, I think you had a pre-draft or draft workout with the Clippers.
Yeah, worked with Clippers.
I'm curious what was that experience like?
Yeah, it was great experience.
Yeah. What do you
held my own
it?
in the workout.
Yeah.
Tough workout. It was basically a lot of 3-on-3 full court, 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3 full court, which is testing the endurance and conditioning of those guys. Obviously, I was not someone who was going to get drafted. There were a few other guys in the in the pre-draft workout who played, one's still in the NBA, a couple played for a little bit. But, just an intense workout, but great experience being able to see that level. I'm trying to think what else on it was good. Did well in the shooting drill at the end, I believe broke one of the pre-draft records that year. But, just being able to see they weren't taking me. But being able to see kind of the intensity,
the process,
and the structure of the organization, and how much work like they put into each prospect in terms of doing personality tests on the iPads and every single testing and every measurement and angle of your legs and your feet, just for a pre-draft workout.
Yeah.
So definitely some takeaways there, but of course ended up going to Spain after that for a year.
Who was the player in the workout who's still in the NBA?
Sterling Brown.
Sterling Brown.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's still on a roster.
Okay.
Nice.
I'm not familiar, too familiar with him.
Yeah, so he was actually my matchup. It was a tough matchup.
Okay.
He played at SMU for 4 years.
Okay.
Did he go to the Bucks?
Yeah, I believe the Bucks picked him in the second round.
Okay.
Good player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I guess kind of to wrap up the playing career timeline, what did you take away? I know it was 1 year in Spain, but especially as you're kind of starting to think about coaching and what you wanted to do next, what did you take away from there and that whole experience?
Yeah, definitely had its challenging moments. We had head coaches get fired throughout the year, players leave, players join, but it really just shows you, at a lower level what pro basketball is. And it's really the same, if you're not getting it done, it's a job, and the next guy's coming in. Same thing with the next coach. So we learned that the hard way at points in Spain, but was able to meet some incredible people. The other American on my team is now in Boston, who I stay close with, as well as a couple of the other international guys, and then some of the Spanish guys. So we had a good mix and a really fun group, but we missed the playoffs by a game and just had its challenges. But the language barrier was one thing, and it goes to show how much respect I have for the guys that stick it out overseas and do it for multiple years, just because it is a different experience, and you hear crazy stories about not getting paid and the safety and whatnot. So wouldn't have traded it for anything.
Yeah. Was it difficult at all after that season to determine? I'm sure you wanted to keep playing as long as you could. How did that process go in terms of wanting to play or kind of moving on from your playing career? I'm sure that was difficult to kind of maybe come to grips with.
To be honest, once Villanova opened up, it made it pretty easy for me.
Yeah.
I think leaving Spain, I wasn't really sure. I was going to explore both. And just kind of see that summer where things would go. But luckily, Villanova kind of happened pretty quick right when I got back from Spain. And then, the interview process dragged out, but at least the initial opportunity was potentially there. And there was still some stuff overseas. I actually played in the TBT tournament with the D3 team that year.
Yeah, the D3 team, right?
In LA. Yeah, we
are D3.
We played. Yeah, it was the first year. Another great experience with Mike Rezniak. I'm sure you know Reg. He coached D3 for a while, but we played the UCLA alums. I believe we were up 5 at half, and then lost by we got crushed in the second half.
Who was on the UCLA team?
I'm blanking on the guys. No, none of the studs, but they had some good dudes who were doing well overseas, and it wasn't even all UCLA guys. Like Khalif Wyatt from Temple.
Okay.
So they pulled in a few ringers, but the D3 team got their win this year. They got that first win this year.
That's right.
Tournament.
Yeah.
That tournament's taken off too. That's really cool to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's amazing. I guess to wrap it up for me, maybe put you on the spot here, but with your coaching career, do you see yourself being like a head coach one day? Like, where do you see like your coaching career kind of taking off from?
Yeah, I definitely want to be a head coach.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed for me. Right now I'm really just focused on this season at Babson with Coach B.
For sure.
And seeing how we can get our team to be the best they possibly can be together.
Yeah.
and that's kind of what we always say is being better collectively. So we're excited, but at the same time, not looking past this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. I think we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have Full Court Press with our producer, Yaz. Yeah.
Hey, it's Bobby Moran, Director of Athletics at Thayer Academy. You know what? Experience matters, and Thayer Academy's professional coaching staff understands how to work with each student athlete to help them succeed. Our coaches and faculty are committed to ensuring both 5th to 12th graders feel known, connected, and prepared. This is Thayer's secret sauce, nurturing each student to reach their full potential. Here, success is truly a team sport. Are you ready for your child to take the next step? See what Thayer has to offer at thayer.org. That's THAYER.org.
Are you serious about playing your sport in college? Do you need a flexible education that allows you to maintain your practice and competition schedules while also preparing you to succeed at the next level? You should check out the University of Nebraska High School. UNHS is accredited and offers more than 100 online courses, including NCAA-approved courses to protect your academic eligibility. Students could earn a UNHS diploma or take a single course for transfer credit. Courses are college prep, self-paced, and available 24/7, 365. Enroll anytime and take up to a year to complete a course. Visit highschool.nebraska.edu today.
Full Court Press.
Yes, welcome back to Full Court Press. It is I, producer Dave Yaz, here to lob 3 questions to all 3 of our panelists here, who are all completely unprepared and shaking in their high tops. Let's get started with this one as a preface to the question. Anybody remember Darryl Dawkins in the NBA? You guys are all too young, probably. But Darryl Dawkins played with the Sixers and some other teams.
He broke a backboard once, right?
He did. He more than one. I think he shattered a couple backboards in his time. Mm-hmm. He used to name his dunks. One of his dunks was named the chocolate thunder flying, babies crying, teeth shaking, glass breaking, rump roasting, bun toasting, wham bam, glass breaker, I am jam. That was my favorite. With that in mind, what's the best dunk you've ever seen? Whether in person or on TV or whatever. And Ethan, why don't we start with you and we'll kind of go around the horn here.
Ooh, okay. Do dunk contest dunks count or only in game?
No, I think contest dunk.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's go. Okay. I'm gonna say. I'm gonna go in game. There was a dunk Giannis had where he literally jumped over. I think it was Tim Hardaway Jr. in game. Mm-hmm. I might have the defender wrong, but literally, it was like Statue of Liberty. His entire body was. He jumped over a person in a game, and that kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to defend that.
Yeah. It was a mismatch. It was a mismatch for sure.
Yeah,
that's a good one. He should have a name for that one. Joey, you're up.
Yeah, one stands out. Unfortunately, as a Celtics fan, I was actually behind that hoop when LeBron dunked on Jason Terry.
I know. I remember that one.
Me and my dad were at that one. That one stands out.
Yep.
Excellent choice as well. Sorry, the Celtics were on the business end of that one. Ethan, the research department here at the HoopWise Podcast has determined you were correct. It was Tim Hardaway Jr. that has jumped over.
Okay.
And Steve, your favorite dunk or best dunk or whatever.
I'm going to go dunk contest, kind of a cop-out. But Vince Carter 2000 dunk contest always sticks to my mind. That's an early memory for me when he went behind between the legs, between the legs, which really hadn't been seen before at that point too much.
Yeah, Vince Carter was pretty superhuman in his day.
And then he had a few other dunks in that contest.
The elbow drop.
The elbow into the rim,
crazy.
Which people had never seen before at that point. Just legendary stuff that will live on forever. So that was the first thing that came to mind when you...
Does anybody know the first Boston Celtic to win the dunk contest? And it may be the only one.
D. Brown?
That's right. Correct. Nice. Very good. He had a couple, and he like took he was a smart guy. He took the time to like plan them out. He did. Did he do the? No, he didn't do
The pumps. The Reebok pumps?
He pumped up before for sure. I was gonna say he did the blindfold one, but that was Ceballos. Oh,
I think he did the no look.
Correct. He did the Dracula arm over the eyes and dunked, and he also did one where he had a ball placed on the back of the rim and just sitting there, and then went up with a different ball and dunked both balls. I still don't know how he got the ball to stay there. It was interesting. All right.
Wow.
Fine answers all around. All right. Basketball is not, question number 2. Basketball is not generally known for trick plays, deception, weird gadget plays, but there are some. Can you recall one that you enjoyed? Steve, we'll start with you and go around this way.
Gadget plays. Nothing's coming to mind right now. I'm blanking.
You can pass.
Can we pass and come back?
We'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Joey, do you have one?
Yeah, I had one. I mean, Creighton, in my time at Villanova, Creighton used to run this one where they would literally raise up to shoot a jump shot from the top of the key, but it was a design play where they would set a back screen and it would be a lob. So the guy, everyone would think it was a shot. You know, defense would watch or start boxing out, and then their 7-footer would just go up and dunk it.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
That's awesome.
You really can't do it unless you have a 7-footer.
Right.
Against, playing against 6'8" guys.
Yeah.
You'd think people would try that more often, though.
What year was that?
They do it every year.
They do it every year.
Every year.
Well, now they have Kalkbrenner playing every single year. Guy will never graduate.
Ethan, you got one?
Man, I don't know if I have one off the top of my head.
All right. Well, Joey wins, and you guys both lose.
Yeah. That's a good question.
You stumped the Schwab.
It's hard. It like I said, it's not generally known for basketball. The one.
Do you have one, yes?
Yeah, of course I do. But I came up with the question. It's not fair. Well, there's one. There was one viral clip that went around many years ago of the barking dog play in a high school game, which is silly, but it sometimes works. It's an inbound play where one of your players just gets down in the corner of. As soon as the referee hands the player the ball, one of your players gets down on all fours and starts barking like a dog. And if you watch the clip, it's in an instant, all 5 defenders turn and look at the kid barking. And in that split second, the pass goes into someone cutting through the middle. The other one is the wrong way play, which works now and again. It has to be usually like at the beginning of the second quarter, say, when a team is taking the ball out of bounds from near half court. You come out of the time stoppage and you just line your players up on the opposite side, and the other team is tricked into thinking they're defending the wrong basket. I tried this once in youth basketball with my son's team, and it worked to perfection.
Well,
and my son, there was youth basketball, and my son had a breakaway and he missed the layup. So that's the way that.
There you go.
And then. Yeah, there aren't too many others I can think of, so it's okay. Maybe it was a terrible question.
That's a tough question.
Yep. Final question for Full Court Press. What is your most cherished piece of basketball memorabilia? So it could be a ball, it could be a jersey, it could be a photo, it could be anything. If you can't think of one, then think of one you would like to have. Okay. And Steve, we'll start with you.
I wrote about this in my intro column for the Basketball Journal this summer. I was at a basketball camp maybe when I was 9 years old, the Tomorrow Stars basketball camp in Franklin at Dean College. Shout out Jim Edgehill, the camp counselor there. We had a knockout competition. You guys know what knockout is, right?
Yeah.
And I won.
Nice.
Somehow. I don't know how I won. And the winning prize was just a green and white Celtics ball.
Nice.
That for a 9-year-old kid was like gold.
That's very cool, especially since you earned it. You know?
And it's somewhere in my parents' basement still, but definitely cherish that.
Knockout, it was always fun as kids, and it's a anxiety-inducing game, right? Because you're trying to get the ball up while other people are basically firing balls at the same time. And yeah,
it's a fun one. I haven't played in a while, but
Joey, how about you?
I'm gonna go Bill Russell autograph Wheaties box.
Come on.
Yeah, when I was young, he was doing a book signing, and my mother and I went. She drove me there. We were, call it like 1200th in line, and apparently he was going to only stay, call it like 8 to 10. He was going to sign as many as he could in the 2 hours. So we left, and we were like, no chance. So we had someone text my mom if we were going to get close, and she got the text. She woke me up out of bed. I forget how old I was young.
Yeah.
And we raced back, and you were only supposed to bring the book that to get signed. So I brought in my Wheaties box, and he signed that. So that's probably my favorite one.
He was on the cover of the Wheaties box?
Yeah, it was an
wow.
old Wheaties
That's
box
sick.
that I had for some reason.
That's so cool.
Wow.
Incredible.
There's a great documentary on Netflix called Bill Russell Legend, which came out, I think, a couple of years ago. Did you catch that?
I did, yeah.
Really great. It's he's a misunderstood guy because for years I think the writers in Boston didn't like him because he was kind of surly, but he sort of had reason to be. Anyway, Ethan.
Man, I'm not going to be that. I used to be, my dad and I were big trading card people when I was growing up. So probably about middle to early high school is when I was really getting into it. I did not buy this card. This came in a random pack. Pull a signed Joel Embiid rookie card. That's probably my most valuable one.
Nice.
And it's been cool to kind of watch his career take off. And if you remember, I remember getting that card, and Embiid didn't play for 2 years, and I was like, oh, well, that's bad. And
it's
I held
gonna be
on to it.
worthless.
I held on to it though, and I think it's worth a couple $100 now. So,
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
Trading cards have come back after, like, I collected mainly baseball cards as a kid and put them in plastic and cherished them. And I said, I'm going to give them to my kids one day. And then, one day circa, 2005 or something, I went to look up the values, and I think the values had gone down. So it was like a major slump, but they've made a comeback. So even the Joel Embiid, that may make you rich someday, Ethan.
I hope so.
Yeah, me too. Very nicely done all around on Full Court Press. Congratulations. I'll have Wheaties boxes signed for all of you afterwards.
Signed David Yaz Wheaties.
Yeah,
box. Let's go.
People don't remember I was on the Wheaties box back in the mid-'70s. Yeah. Back to you guys to wrap things up. Well done.
Thanks, Yaz. This is fun. Joey, thanks for coming in. I think I hadn't seen you since you were playing at Babson.
Yeah, probably.
I think we only met in person maybe once or twice when I was covering you guys. But this was fun. It's been fun to watch your kind of basketball journey take off, and I'm looking forward to watching you guys at Babson this year. Hopefully come over to a few games. So
Thank you guys. Appreciate having me on.
Thanks again for coming on. For Ethan and producer Yaz, I am Steve Hewitt. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.